Why do we enjoy music? Chapter 1. The First Pulse. If you were to press your ear against the world before your first breath, before your first cry, you would hear music, though you would not yet know to call it that. You would hear the oceanic murmur of your mother's body, the plucked string throb of a heart pumping time into your private night, the hush and surge of blood and breath. You would learn long before you could see that life is a pattern, kick and float, hush and throb. The day measured not by the sun but by rhythms. This is where our enjoyment of music begins, not with violins or drums or electric guitars, but with a body keeping time for another body. When people ask, why do we enjoy music? I think first of that submerged world, then of a tiny newborn on someone's shoulder, quieting not to words but to humming. There is, in the simplest lullaby, a promise. You are safe. I am here. The world can be patterned into gentleness. Before we understand language, we understand contour, the slope of a phrase, the return of a motif, the fall of notes at the end that means rest now. We enjoy music because it returns us to a logic we once trusted with our entire existence. Patterns that hold, patterns we can move with and be moved by. But that is only the beginning. Now step outside into a street where a busker loops 2 bars on a battered guitar, and watch what happens. A woman waiting for a crosswalk lifts a heel without noticing. A boy on a scooter traces a wider arc. Even the pigeons seem to bob with a faint deference to the pulse. We betray our enjoyment with movement. We do not merely hear rhythm, we enact it. The body hears and answers. Why? Because rhythm gives the nervous system something precious, a scaffold for prediction. Consider the quiet intelligence living behind your eyes, forever trying to guess what happens next. It is the secret author of your reality, writing it just barely ahead of time to keep you upright and unafraid. When music plays, that inner author takes up a work it craves, forecasting the next beat, the next chord, the next breath of sound. Every time the guess lands true, a small light goes on, a satisfied spark. Every time the prediction fails in a delightful way, a larger light flashes, surprise, curiosity, laughter in the chest. This dance between expectation and deviation, between the groove that holds us and the glittering edge that teases us free, is the chemical theater for our enjoyment. You have felt this. The heavens parting in a pop song when the chorus arrives exactly where it's supposed to, loud and generous. Or the way a master of suspense holds back the drop for one impossible measure, and then releases it so that all the air in your body seems to leave as a cheer. Your nervous system is a connoisseur of timing. It knows the relief of landing and the thrill of flight. We enjoy music because it gives us both. It lets us feel the accuracy of our minds and the mercy of being wrong in a good way. Let's walk further into a rehearsal hall at twilight. A choir gathers. Strangers become a single instrument. The director raises a hand. And a chord blooms. It is imperfect, then it tightens. They adjust. They listen to one another. What lifts the hairs along your forearm is not only the harmony but the sight of many people tuning themselves into something larger. Music grants us a shortcut to belonging. The pulse becomes a shared law, the melody a common language, and for a while there is no I that is not also a we. You have felt it at a concert where thousands sang the same words and you were both anonymous and known. The human animal enjoys music because it turns loneliness into geometry, voices lining up like stars, and because that geometry moves. There are other reasons, some difficult to confess. Music lets us have feelings at a safe distance. You can sit in your kitchen with a glass of water and weep to a song that uses someone else's life as a mirror. The sorrow enters at a volume you choose, stays as long as the track's duration, and leaves you cleansed. Or the music riles you up, lets you thunder down a city block with a borrowed courage. It lends us costumes, the confessional, the warrior, the lover. We enjoy music because it is a simulation machine for the heart, a way to rehearse being other versions of ourselves without consequence, to try on intensities, to remember that we can feel. But if you want a scene that captures the whole human relationship to music, the prediction, the belonging, the costume, and the secret science that makes it a reward, come with me to a small kitchen late at night. An old record spins. The room smells of tea and citrus. There are bills on the table and a single lamp. A woman, tired beyond words, closes her eyes when the second verse arrives. You watch her shoulders drop, then lift, as if some soft tether inside her had been slacked and then retied. What changed? Nothing outside the air. Everything inside her map of the world. For 3 minutes and 42 seconds the world was repatterned. The bills remain, the fatigue remains, but she is not the same. Music didn't solve her life. It solved the next breath. That is often enough. We can talk this way for hours, painting scenes, tracing sensations, but let's wander into the mechanics. What is a melody if not a shaped expectation? You start with a note, then another, forming an interval that implies a path. The path can climb or fall, wander or return. Each step is an invitation. Finish me. The genius of a good melody is that it feels inevitable once you've heard it, though you had no obvious right to what came. The distance between inevitability and discovery is where enjoyment grows. We love the sense that meaning was always there, waiting for us to notice it. In this way, music feels like a conversation with the world itself. Is it random? Is it fate? The melody says, both, and between them, a bridge you can walk. I do know is in. Harmony operates on a deeper axis, one that whispers about closeness and release. Stack two notes and they behave like strangers at a party, pulling toward or away, warily circling until they either collide in sweetness or keep their mysterious distance. Triads and extended chords are societies in miniature, each with a politics of tension and relief. We enjoy harmony because it lets us hear the physics of togetherness, how parts relate, and because our bodies are exquisitely sensitive to these relationships, even when we have no words for them. A minor chord can make us feel a shadow without telling us anything literal about the world. A suspended fourth, held and then resolved, can stand in for the entire emotional arc of waiting and receiving. These are not metaphors we impose on music. They are metaphors our nervous systems seem to recognize, pre-linguistically, the way we recognize a face as kind or a storm is coming. And rhythm is our oldest contract. Beat organizes time into something we can inhabit. The groove is a promise kept again and again. The future will come in pieces you can step into. Give a human a reliable beat, and they will find a pattern of body to match it: neck, shoulder, heel. Complexity can be layered atop that reliability. Syncopation, the smile that comes from notes, nudging the offbeats. Polyrhythm, two truths carried at once. The hush of a downbeat withheld. We enjoy rhythm because it gives the nervous system a game with stakes but no danger. We enjoy it because we are made of cycles, waking and sleeping, hunger and satiety, breath and heart, and music maps those cycles back to us in an audible architecture. Where does timbre, the grain of the sound, fit into all this? Put the same melody on a trumpet, a cello, a human voice, and watch how your inner weather changes. Timbre is texture. It is the fingerprint of vibrating bodies. The pleasure of timbre is partly tactile, the way a certain distortion on an electric guitar seems to sand your ribs from the inside, or a well-recorded piano lays a polished table for your thoughts. We enjoy timbre because it tells us about the origin of the sound, wood or brass or flesh, and therefore about the world that made it. We are story animals, and tone color is evidence of a story. Even in the slim economy of a phone speaker, your brain reconstructs a cathedral of ghosts, wooden cavities, metal strings, air moving. A voice breaks, and in that break is the whole biography of a person condensed into a syllable. Why do we enjoy music? Because it lets reality speak in microtextures we can feel immediately as truth. Now let's turn the dial toward culture. If pleasure were only the property of the brain's machinery, all music would converge into a single perfect pattern. It does not. Entire continents disagree on where the downbeat should land, how scales should divide their steps, which intervals sound finished and which leave the door ajar. Some traditions slide notes like a hand on wet silk. Others lock pitches into a crystalline ladder. What remains constant is the hunger for pattern, play, and meaning. Music thrives wherever humans gather, because culture is a long conversation with time, and music is one of the few ways we can hold time in our hands, chew it, season it, offer it to one another as if it were bread. So picture a square full of swaying bodies somewhere you have never been. It is evening. Warm lights float. A language you do not speak rises and falls like birds. You do not understand the words, but your shoulders find the beat. You are welcomed by the pulse. This is one of music's most blessed tricks. It makes belonging portable. Wherever you can keep time, you can be with others. And not just with people. Music also puts you with your future and with your past. A song from a decade ago lifts you into a vanished apartment with the smell of paint. A few piano notes carried through an open window tie you to a future moment you haven't lived yet but somehow recognize as yours. We enjoy music because it lets us travel without leaving. There is, too, the gift that music gives to language itself. Speech is a row of stones in a river. Song is those stones when the water rises. Prosody, the rhythm and melody of speech, turns facts into feelings. A poet is a kind of smuggler. They hide music inside, meaning so that you cannot pull them apart without breaking something essential. We enjoy music because it gives our words their true size. A confession in plain voice is one thing. Set to melody, it carries the weight of ceremony. The I in a pop song can be your I. The you can be everyone and no one. And the story can be bigger than its details. That bigness is part of the pleasure. Music makes room. I promise no false magic, so I will say the quiet part. Not all enjoyment comes in sunlit honesty. There is an industry of hooks and jingles engineered to lodge inside you, to make you loop a melody until it becomes a tiny tyrant. There are songs that seem to simplify experience into slogans and others that mistake volume for feeling. We enjoy them too. Sometimes. And that is human. The brain loves the catchiness of repeatability, the neatness of a chord progression that fits like an old jacket. We are not wrong to enjoy it. But the deepest pleasure, at least in my life, comes when a song makes me more capable of the world, when it enlarges my compassion or deepens my attention, when its pattern teaches me something about the pattern of living. Think of the first song you loved so hard you wanted to crawl into it and stay. Maybe you were 13. Maybe the song found you in a place that felt unlit. It said, "Here is your private ache, rendered public and beautiful." Or it said, "Here is a freedom you didn't know you could feel." Or it said nothing you can paraphrase now, only gave you a room where your breath felt like dancing. We enjoy music because it can be a sanctuary you carry in your pocket. The world is noisy and uncertain. Music is a certainty curated to be kind. In 3 minutes, an argument with the hour becomes a conversation. I want to tell you a story about a man who never liked music. He was my neighbor once. He said music always tried to tell him how to feel, and he distrusted it. Then one winter, after a surgery, he walked home slowly and sat in his kitchen, and there was an old public radio station on, and a violin began to play a melody that was serious in its hope, minor that wanted to be major. The kind of melody that sounds like a bridge you cross because there is no other way. He told me later that the music didn't tell him how to feel. It told him what he already felt, but in a way that let him bear it. He listened every night for a week. He said it was like finding a word for an unnamed color. Now he could point to it. We enjoy music because it names things in us that are otherwise mute. There is also the mystery of silence. A rest is not nothing. It is a room for attention to stand up and breathe. Composers know this. The most wrenching emotional moments are often held in place by what is not played. In life too, enjoyment is sharpened by silence. The song ends and the last note hangs in the air, and that soft emptiness is part of the pleasure, the echo in which your mind re-sings its favorite part. Try this. The next time you finish a piece you love, let the silence be a frame. Notice how your body still holds the groove like the warmth of a just vacated chair. Notice how your breath obeys a tempo that is no longer sounding. We enjoy music because it teaches us to enjoy silence differently. What about the way music shapes memory? A smell can snap you backward, but it is music that builds a ladder. Couples keep our song as if it were a kept animal. A family holds a hymn like a thread through births and funerals. Memory loves structure, and music is a palace of rooms whose doors are titled verse, chorus, bridge. You step through one, and time collapses. The pleasure of this collapse can be nearly unbearable, a sweetness that hurts in the way the sun hurts when you step out of a long tunnel. We enjoy music because it lets us change the color of time. Allow me one more kitchen. A different night. A father is washing dishes. His little daughter is thumping a wooden spoon against a pot lid. It is sincere but unkind to the ear. He turns the spoon into a metronome. 1, 2, 3, 4. He adds a chant. Stir the soup. Stir the soup. And she giggles because now her noises are a song. The mother adds a harmony of vowels. Suddenly there is a band in the house. A small carnival whose audience is the dog. The father is still washing dishes, but he is smiling like a man inside a gift. We enjoy music because it is an instrument for ordinary joy. It can tune a Wednesday night into ceremony. It can tug a room into togetherness with something as low-tech as a beat on a pot lid. What of the darker rooms, those times when the music that once healed starts to feel like a wound because the person you shared it with is gone? Even then, there is a grim, necessary pleasure in pain that arrives measured, with a beginning and an end. The song returns to the dangerous place with you and leaves with you. It walks you past the house where the dog you loved used to wait by the gate. It lowers the span of the bridge across grief by scaffolding it with chorus and verse. We enjoy music not because it is always happy, but because it is faithful. At the end of all this movement, prediction, belonging, simulation, texture, culture, language, silence, memory, and ceremony, there is a truth simple enough to carry in a pocket. Music is what happens when time learns how to feel. We enjoy it because it makes time inhabitable. It takes the raw continuum and measures it into homes. You can live inside a bar of 4 the way you can live inside a room. You can decorate it with a melody, open its windows with harmony, lay a rug of rhythm that invites bare feet. You can invite others in. You can leave the door unlocked for a former version of yourself to visit. And perhaps the sweetest reason of all, music reminds us that our bodies are instruments, not just vehicles. We are made to resonate. A song plucks us and we sound. The day plucks us and we sound. To enjoy music is to enjoy being the kind of creature that can be played upon and choose the player, choose the station, the playlist, the friend with a guitar, the silence between tracks. We are not passive. We are a choir of selves, and the world is full of pitches waiting for agreement. So let me leave you, for now, with a small practice in listening. The next time you walk down a street, and a car passes with a rhythm that gets inside your bones for a step and a half, let your foot answer it. When the bird in the park repeats a phrase 3 times, pretend you are in a conversation and whistle back. When the elevator dings in a minor third and your heart wants to complete the triad, hum it. When you are alone and the refrigerator hums at a steady pitch, stack a harmony in your throat. Notice how, in each case, the world stops being simply there and becomes with you. Notice the flicker of pleasure at that joining. You have just rediscovered the earliest joy, a body in a universe of pulses, finding its place in the song. And when, later, someone asks you, yes, but why do we enjoy music? You may tell them a story, about a kitchen, a choir, a street corner, a womb. You may talk about prediction and surprise, belonging and bravery, texture and time. Or you may hum a single note, let it hang, and then answer it with its home. If they feel the click inside, if a small light goes on behind their eyes, you will have said more than any argument, you will have given them the sensation itself. That, finally, is the only answer worth more than the question. Chapter 2. The Listening Animal. Imagine a campfire somewhere far behind history, a bright circle blurring the edge between fear and warmth. The night is a country of eyes shining back. Around the flames, somebody starts tapping a stick against a gourd. Another answers. A voice rises, then another, and slowly the air fills with a pattern that makes the dark less powerful. This is not nostalgia. It is one of the ways our ancestors learned to turn togetherness into safety. Before there were walls, there were rhythms. Before there were treaties, there were songs. To ask why we enjoy music is to ask why a human feels steadier in a group than alone. Why a shared beat quiets the trembling inside the rib cage. The answer is as old as firelight. The body hears order, and fear has less room. But let's not leave it there in the old world. Come forward to a subway car at rush hour. Nobody speaks. Phones glow, 1,000 tiny galaxies elapse. Then, from somewhere near the door, a saxophone threads a melody through the stale air, something quick and tender. Heads lift, just slightly. Smiles flicker. The moment doesn't cure the day, but it makes a pocket of it warmer. A tip jar appears like a small altar to gratitude. As the train slows, a child claps out of time, and the musician angles their phrase so the clapping suddenly belongs. This is another reason we enjoy music. It gives us opportunities to be generous in ways so small they feel like breathing. To drop a coin, to nod on the offbeat, to be briefly woven into a stranger's courage. Each of these is a rehearsal for a better city. Now, to the laboratory, not for numbers we must memorize, but for the kind of story the body tells when wires are attached. You lie there with a cap of sensors, and a simple rhythm is piped into your ears. Your motor system, the one that plans movement, starts lighting up even though you've been told to stay still. Your prediction machinery shifts from the future of traffic and deadlines to the future of the next beat. A melody arrives, different circuits lean forward. Harmony changes. A wave of relief or ache travels across your insides as if a weather system had passed. Your pupils adjust, goose flesh rises. Somewhere between expectancy and surprise, your nervous system drips its rewards. Yes, that's it, and oh, better than I thought. You can feel this without needing any language for it. We enjoy music because its changes are legible to us. It moves like we do. It repeats, it stumbles, it pauses, it gathers itself, it leaps. When we say music moves us, we mean it twice. It moves our feelings, and it moves our bodies, or rather, it reveals that the body was always a feeling instrument. Watch a toddler hearing a groove. They will not deliberate, they will lean. The head finds a hinge, the knees discover springs, and suddenly gravity is a collaborator. That alignment between sound and motion is not childishness, it is fluency. Adults only hide it better. Even when you hold still at a funeral hymn, your breath learns a pace, your throat carries weight and shapes. We enjoy music because it dignifies the animal in us, the part that knows wellness as a relationship between inside time and outside time. Consider identity. Teenagers use music like a passport. A playlist becomes a flag. A chorus shouted through cheap speakers turns a cafeteria table into a border. We are this, it says, and not that. Maybe you remember your own enlistments, the bands that told you who you were, or at least who you hoped to be seen as. Leather jackets and snarled guitars, or airy harmonies and notebooks of lyrics. Bass that rattled the spine like a warning, or folk songs gentle enough to be a lamp. We enjoy music because it lets us practice being someone. Later, when we become many someones, a parent who used to be a raver, an engineer who once wrote sonnets, music holds the archive so the identities don't cancel each other. You can be the person you were for 4 minutes whenever you choose. Put on the song. The room changes. And so do you. I think of protests too, of crowds that do not want to be a crowd until the first chant finds them. Then what you see is not just anger, it is rhythm turning fear into direction. Marching feet discover each other. Voices that would crack alone become strong together. The melody is often crude, the rhyme simple on purpose because the purpose is not cleverness but a doorway you can still walk through while afraid. In these moments, music is not entertainment at all. It is a technology for courage. We enjoy it even when it is ragged because it transforms helplessness into momentum. It is not that the song makes the world bend, but that it lets the many move as if they could bend it. Sometimes they do. On a quieter register, there is the medicine of music. A patient with a stutter sings fluently. A person with trembling hands finds that a steady beat steadies them. Someone whose memories have thinned to lace can still hum the hymns of childhood with perfect inflection. Nurses dim the lights and lift the day's pain with an old ballad. A mother in a neonatal ward hums and the infant's heart steadies. None of this is a miracle in the cheap sense. It is the careful intelligence of the body responding to shape. We enjoy music because the body recognizes it as an ally. Not a cure-all, no honest music promises that, but a form of care ordinary enough to hide in plain sight. A playlist can be a pharmacy drawer labeled breathe, gather, let go. Let me take you to a classroom, the teacher asks. What makes this chorus feel like coming home? Students venture guesses, it's loud. It's the words. The beat drops there. The teacher asks them to sing the melody on a single syllable. Suddenly the room feels the shape rather than the statement. They discover that the line rises as if climbing a hill and then descends with relief, that there's a little hesitation just before the landing, as if the singer had looked back once at the view. They realize the harmony switches from restless to settled on the word that matters. There is a murmur, the sound of many brains making a shared map of a thing that a minute ago was only catchy. We enjoy music because understanding it, even a little, deepens the pleasure. Analysis is not the enemy of feeling, it is a dessert spoon. Here is a different school, a studio at midnight. A producer is alone with a laptop and a pair of speakers that look like eyes. They've built a drum pattern that feels like a heartbeat after a sprint. They place a piano chord on top and it works, but only like bricks stacked in a hurry. They detune the chord a fraction, thinning one note, fattening another, and now the air around it becomes interesting. Another sound arrives, something like wind inching through a bottle, and the beat suddenly owns a landscape. A voice memo from a bus ride last year is dropped into the session. It was an accident, but it's perfect. The producer loops the mistake, trims it, sits back, and the track breathes. This is not just craft. It is a second kind of listening. One where your ears notice what your intellect never would have asked for. We enjoy music because we enjoy discovery, including the discovery that the world is already musical and waits for hands to show it. Timbre's power returns here. Not as theory, but as the spine of gooseflesh. The right amount of rasp in a singer's voice reads as experience rather than affectation. Too much becomes costume. The distance of a snare drum sounds either like a club or a dream, and you can smell the difference. A bowed string in a low register can feel like a door opening to a room you haven't entered since you were 6. A cheap microphone introduces a grain that makes a love song more human than an expensive one. We enjoy music because sound carries moral information, or we hear it as such. We hear sincerity and bluff, intimacy and theater, steadiness and panic, not because the sounds are those things but because our nervous system needs to know whether to lean in. Timbre reaches that judgment center faster than words do. Now a brief detour through silence. You know the force of a rest that comes at the right time. It throws the next note forward like a stone skipping from a still hand. Composers and producers learn that silence is not the absence of music, it is a tool. Life rarely teaches us this. We tend to fill our own rests with more noise. But if you listen differently, quietness becomes a partner. A city's 3 a.m. hum has a pitch, rain sets a tempo. A lover's breath is a metronome that changes meaning with proximity. The world is sound even when you are not playing anything. We enjoy music because it trains our attention so that the ordinary becomes a source. After a good concert, even the squeak of your shoes against the sidewalk is a little poem. Let's go backward again, but not as far as the fire. A village square. There is a circle dance older than paperwork. Children are tugged into it, the elderly steadied by it, the awkward protected by its rules. You could look at this as quaint anthropology, or you could see it as an instruction manual for belonging. The steps are plain, the patterns communal, the joy not ecstatic but solid. In this scene, music is not performance but participation. Its aim is not transcendence but maintenance. We enjoy music because it keeps the social fabric from fraying. It reminds us to be bodies in view of each other, to adapt, to lead sometimes, and follow more often, to accept correction with a smile because the point is not your shine but our shape. I have so far sung music's praises. Honesty asks me to admit its misuses too. Songs can be manipulative, a swell of strings under a speech to borrow importance the words didn't earn. Jingles can colonize attention and extract little but profit. National anthems can turn complex history into flammable pride. Parade marches can convert individuals into a bloc that does not ask questions. We sometimes enjoy these, or something in us does, because they're tidy, because we are tired, because being told what to feel can feel like relief. The antidote is not to stop listening, it is to listen more specifically. Ask, what in this sound is making me stand up? Where is the pleasure coming from, my love of country, or my fear of leaving the group? Does this choir make me larger or smaller? We enjoy music most cleanly when we can tell the difference. A friend of mine once said, "Music is how I sort my days." He meant that certain albums make workdays workable, that a piece of ambient noise dresses hours like a gentle uniform, that sorrow demands piano, that triumph belongs to drums. The categories aren't strict, they evolve as the person does. The point is that music is a calendar we can lay over the external one. Today is for strings. This week is for brass. Summer belongs to the guitar. We enjoy music for the same reason we enjoy rituals. They take the shapelessness of time and fold it into something holdable. Light a candle, press play. The effect is the same. Attention knows where to stand. At a different end of experience there is ecstasy, the state where selfhood gets thin and the room becomes everything. A cathedral chant, a club at 2 a.m., a drum circle that won't end because nobody wants it to. These are places where music loosens the borders of I, and the world flows in. We enjoy this. Some of us crave it, because our ordinary minds are tight-fisted. They clutch identity as a shield. Music lets us put the shield down for a while. Afterwards we pick it up again. The world requires it. But we remember the relief, and we return to the doorway when we can. I suspect that some people call this God, and others call it art. The experience rhymes either way. For both, music is a stair. I once met a dancer who said, "What I love is when the music teaches me a shape I didn't know I could make." That line has become a companion in my head. It applies beyond dance. Someone picks up a guitar at a party and the shy person discovers they are not shy when they sing. Someone learns how to beatbox in a bathroom at school because the echo makes them braver. Someone who cannot tell a story at dinner can tell it in 12 bars in a basement at midnight and weep 3 strangers and a friend into new life. This is not fame. This is something humbler and more durable. The power to surprise yourself with grace. We enjoy music because it can make us less afraid of our own capacities. Let us talk about taste. People worry they have the wrong one. They apologize for loving bubblegum pop or for never liking a revered jazz album. But taste is not a test you either pass or fail. It is a map of your encounters with joy, updated as you move. Some regions you visit once, some you live in, some you avoid until a friend shows you a path through. The only 2 questions worth asking about taste are, does this open you or close you? And, does this harm anyone? If a song opens you and does no harm, the enjoyment is honest, even if a critic would sneer. If a song closes you and harms no one, it might still be useful, maybe closing is what safety demands that day. If a song opens you but harms someone by making cruelty feel noble, that is a reason to reconsider the charm. We enjoy music more freely when we measure its effect on our character rather than its status among the fashionable. Technology has changed the shape of our listening, not our need for it. The gramophone made music portable for the first time. Radio made it public. Streaming has made it ubiquitous. The abundance can flatten the experience until every song becomes background to something else. But it can also return listening to what it once was. A choice of community. You can stand on the balcony with headphones at 1 a.m. and feel the pulse of Lagos or Seoul or Nashville climb the night into your chest. You can spend an afternoon in the archives of a voice recorded 70 years ago and hear dust that was once breath. Abundance is not the enemy of meaning. Inattention is. We enjoy music most when we give it time as if it were a person we loved, and we do not talk over it. Practicalities matter. The room matters more than you think. A cheap speaker placed kindly on a wooden table, not a hollow shelf. Facing you, not the wall, can make a song bloom like a plant moved toward light. Sitting where both speakers can reach you equally, turns a smudge into a portrait. Turning the volume a notch lower than you want can lengthen the time before your ears tire. We enjoy music more when we make space for it to be itself. This is not snobbery. It is respect. Even a phone speaker can make a small cathedral if you are willing to be still. Here is a short catalog of listening practices that have improved my own days, offered not as commandments but as invitations. One song walks. Choose a single track. Walk until it ends. Do not check your phone. Notice what the song makes the world look like. The street will be different at the final note, even if your feet never turned. Theme nights. Declare a quiet theme, songs with hand claps, pianos recorded up close, voices older than their lyrics. Let the constraint teach you to hear detail. Shared headphones. Sit with someone and pass one earbud each. Take turns playing favorite tracks. Say nothing until the last note fades. Then, say only what you liked. Listening backward. Start a beloved album at the last track and move toward the first. Recognition will arrive in strange clothes. You'll hear the record's architecture in reverse and appreciate how much the beginning owes to its end. Silence after. When a song pierces you, do not play the next one yet. Let the air cool. Enjoy the echo. These are small rituals, but they respect the idea that enjoyment deepens when attention is cared for. I cannot finish without speaking to musicians, the people who paint the air. If you are one, thank you for the windows you cut. If you are not, remember that singing in your kitchen qualifies. The distance between listener and maker is thinner than the world's machines pretend. Hum a line into the day and you have changed it. Play 3 chords and a child dances. This is civilization at its most condensed. A final story. Years ago I visited a friend who was sitting with grief that would not leave the room. Words were too sharp. Advice would have been an insult. I put on a record I knew she loved, an album so woven into her history that its first seconds pressed a hidden switch. We did not speak. The first side spun, and the silence after it felt like a fragile new floor we could step onto. Again? She asked, and we flipped the vinyl. By the time the needle lifted, the second time, there was air in the room that had not been there before. Not happiness, not yet, but space where breath could be a friend again. That, to me, is the best, simplest answer to our question. We enjoy music because it makes room in the day, in the body, in the crowded house of the heart. Room for sorrow to unclench. For joy to get a chair. For courage to find the door. For memory to sit beside us without turning us to stone. If I could hand you one sentence to carry after these 2 chapters, it would be this. Music is time felt together. We enjoy it because togetherness is how we survive together with our past selves, with the people near us, with strangers who share nothing but a chorus, with the future we're brave enough to sing toward. In a world that often asks us to be smaller, music invites us to be exact and vast at once. Exact in our attention, vast in our mercy. When the question returns, and it will, as it should, hum back your favorite answer. Let your body find its hinge. Let the beat make promises it can keep. And let the next note teach you, again, how to step into time with your whole self.